The original AirPods released nearly 5 years ago as an answer to the courageous elimination of the headphone jack on iPhone 7. Remember that?
Courage.
Now, what was originally criticized for its price and memed for their looks and mocked for lacking a wire that connected the two buds together, yeah, that was a thing at the time, and it was a real complaint. AirPods were one of the first players in the true wireless earbuds market, and Apple, well, they inarguably nailed it. I mean, the proof of that wasn't just that they were sold out for nearly 2 years despite moving 50 million units. No, proof of that was that they continue to sell today what is essentially the same earbud 5 years later. And it's no wondering why people like them. I mean, the ease of pairing, the battery life, convenience, and reliability still put AirPods near the front of the pack. However, they never really grabbed me, a chronically diagnosed audiophile. And it wasn't until the AirPods Pro and subsequent AirPods Max that I conceded fidelity for the convenience that the AirPods line offered. But Apple hasn't forgotten the earbud that made them, it seems. And the new AirPods 3, or third generation as Apple calls it, now retail for $179. Of course, the question is, are the changes made to these earbuds good ones, and are they worth their price? Something that is definitely worth the price, today's sponsor, EcoFlow, and their new River Mini power station. EcoFlow makes power stations both large and small, from ones that can power your home to, well, this. The River Mini is their newest and smallest unit yet, and it can power 90% of consumer electronics, like the new MacBook Pro over the built-in 100-watt USB-C PD port, or AirPods 3, or your iPhone, or whatever else on the Qi wireless charger. And over the built-in AC inverter, you can power so many other things. It's capable of recharging to 80% in just 1 hour, which is really impressive, and can be charged over your home's AC, a car's 12-volt DC power, or even a solar panel. This thing is lightweight at just 6 pounds and packs 210 watt-hours of juice. They have an awesome app that allows you to get real-time information as well as modify certain settings, like enabling the X Boost, which allows for double the AC power output. This thing can power tons of stuff conveniently, and I've been using mine kind of like everywhere. The newest member of the River family, the River Mini, is a great addition to your home when you need a smaller power source. Head to my link in the description below to check it out. The new AirPods 3, well, they look more like their pricier sibling, the AirPods Pro, than they do their predecessor. Gone is the classic vertical charging case in favor of basically the wide one found on the Pros. However, the new AirPods charging case does find itself with a slightly smaller footprint than that of the pricier earbuds. It's pretty close in size to the original AirPods, despite offering 6 hours more total listening time, which is impressive. Now, another feature that's not found on AirPods Pro, MagSafe, baby. The new case isn't super MagSafey with just 4 magnets, 1 in each corner, but it does indeed snap onto the MagSafe puck. And with a bit of encouragement and roughly centered alignment, it works great. It's not going to snap into place like your iPhone, but it works. Of course, it's also obviously compatible with non-magnetic Qi wireless charging mats. So if you have those, great. Now, unlike the prior generation, the wireless charging case is not an additional charge. It's not sold separately or not a premium. It's just included at the $180 price point, which is nice. Now, the design of the earbuds themselves also mimic the AirPods Pro, but with an even more aggressive insertion angle. Now, comfort and fit is of course going to be subjective. And just as the original AirPods were and AirPods Pro, these are not going to be a catch-all. They're not going to grab everyone. However, the new contoured design, in my opinion, offers a few, not subjective, but objective improvements for most ears. First, the angle of the driver being tilted aligns with a greater number of ear canals, which provides a better natural seal and significantly improved bass response. We'll talk about that in a minute. Secondly, the new wishbone design, which is even more aggressive than the AirPods Pro, balances the weight far more than the prior AirPods because it moves the majority of the mass away from the stems. These would always pull on my earlobe and it did not feel good at all. And it places the majority of the load directly inside of the ear's concha. And while not everyone's experience is going to align with mine, I mean, Reddit is already filled with a bunch of people saying that this design is a regression. I, along with a few other people that have tried these very buds, find that they are significantly more comfortable than the originals and more comfortable than any AirPods model to date, period. I have very small ears and my ear canals are even smaller. And so I get discomforted by crap lodged in there after usually just an hour. And it's typically why I mostly wear over-ear headphones. Discomfort never came with the AirPods 3. And I legitimately forgot that they were even there on multiple occasions. Now, I will remark that the shorter stem, which adopts the force sensor from the AirPods Pro, so thank goodness gone is the awful eardrum slapping that was required of the previous model, the stem does seem to point into the cheek for most people, certainly on myself, and is therefore a bit trickier to engage because you have to tilt your fingers inward. Of course, comfort means nothing if the AirPods sound like crap. So, well, how do they sound? I felt I needed a baseline, so I went out and bought a brand new set of second generation AirPods to make the most direct and fair comparisons possible. After all, Apple does still sell these for $129, so they're very much competition. And just as I remember, well, they are not very good. Their loose canal fit makes for an extremely weak low end, and that's coming from someone who doesn't even really love bass. Conversely, the other side of the spectrum is overly bright, nearing on sibilance. They have no noise isolation whatsoever, but there's also no soundstage. They're frankly bad headphones. And so that sets the bar pretty low for the AirPods 3. But I have to say, wow, like I'm actually impressed how much better they are. The frequency response is very inoffensive. The bass is surprisingly prominent for earbuds that don't establish a perfect seal with your ear canal, but they're not overpowering at all and they remain quick and controlled. As you move into the mids, they are very lush, with vocals in particular showing nice separation from instrumentation. And then the high frequencies are surprisingly punchy, but without being too bright like the AirPods 2 are. Now, obviously, their isolation is poor relative to the AirPods Pro. I mean, you're still going to hear people around you, and they will still also hear what you are listening to, but they are way better at isolation than the original AirPods and AirPods 2. And they manage to, at the same time, sound more open. Imaging and Soundstage is much improved. Now, a big pitch from Apple for these was spatial audio support via Dolby Atmos. And I'm frankly not really a fan of Atmos on higher end headphones, but on the AirPods 3, the audio processing tricks can occasionally make these AirPods sound better than they really are. For example, in Michael Kiwanuka's You Ain't the Problem, there is this crowd that's kind of in the background, but on the stereo recording on cheaper headphones, it all tends to get muddled together. And on the Atmos version, the crowd really stands out from the rest of the track, and the whole recording feels very dimensional, with Michael's vocals in particular shining through with a lot of weight and amazing separation from the rest of the instrumental. But look, not every track is a hit still, and it's pretty hit or miss. Marina's Venus Flytrap pushes the singer's vocals like underwater. They sound horrible. There is incredibly sluggish, thumpy bass, and there is an extremely thin high end. It sounds legitimately very bad. So it's still a bit of a wash with Atmos tracks, but I do feel that more tracks getting added to the catalog are getting better, which is good. I think that spatial audio is much more effective in movie and television content. There is generally better mastering, and the vocals don't tend to get pushed into the background like they can with music. And so I had a lot of fun watching content on Apple TV Plus with these, even if there are kind of gimmicky things like head tracking that I was quick to disable. So I guess the question is, are the AirPods 3 worth $180? In a vacuum, I would be inclined to say yes, they're very competent. and certainly the best variant of the standard AirPods. A huge, huge jump from the second generation, way bigger than the first to the second, and that was even a pretty big jump. But these headphones, they don't exist in a vacuum. And while the new AirPods 3 are good, the older AirPods Pro, they're great. The sonic performance is quite a bit better still, and then you have the entire active noise canceling capabilities, which in my eyes are an enormous asset. And while the MSRP of the AirPods Pro is high, the going rate now is seldom more than $20 extra than the AirPods 3. And on discount days, I've even seen the AirPods Pro sell for less money than the AirPods 3. And with the competition, Apple's own competition, that close in price, AirPods 3 becomes significantly less appealing. So my suggestion is this: only buy the AirPods 3 if A, the AirPods Pro literally does not fit in your ears, or B, active noise cancellation present on the Pros makes you sick. It does to some. But those are literally the only two reasons to choose them. Which is too bad because the AirPods 3 are pretty excellent otherwise. Maybe if their price was $150 or less, the story would change. But they're not. And so sadly, I can't really recommend them. What I can recommend is for you to give this video a like if you enjoyed it. If you didn't like this video, well, then send it to someone you don't like, preferably someone who owns the Microsoft Surface Buds, because those things are terrible. Get subscribed for more awesome content like this one. We have a lot of MacBook Pro coverage still upcoming, so get subscribed there. And yeah, I'm done. I'm not gonna talk anymore. Stay snazzy.